identical twin is like living with a mirror that has its own agenda. For 28 years, I shared everything with my sister Madeline. Same face, same voice, same silver blonde hair that our grandmother always said marked us as true Blackwoods. But we couldn't have been more different on the inside. I'm Emma Blackwood, the twin who chose a quiet life running a small art gallery in Boston. Madeline became a high-powered investment banker in New York, collecting designer labels and wealthy boyfriends like trophies. Our parents were prouder of her, naturally. Who wouldn't prefer a daughter who made millions over one who spent her days hanging paintings? But our grandmother, Catherine, was different. She saw through the surface similarities, understood who we really were beneath our identical faces. While our parents fawned over Madeline's banking success, Grandma quietly supported my passion for art, helping me open my gallery when no one else would. "You have a gift, Emma," she'd tell me during our Sunday afternoon teas in her Victorian mansion. "You see beauty where others see only dollar signs." Those afternoons were sacred. Madeline never came. She was always too busy with work. But that was fine with me. It meant I had Grandma Catherine all to myself. Then came the call that changed everything. I was in my gallery, hanging a new collection, when my phone buzzed. My mother's voice was tight with barely controlled grief. "Emma, it's Grandma Catherine. There was an accident." The world tilted sideways. I gripped the edge of my desk, knocking over a cup of coffee. The dark liquid spread across the pristine white surface like spilled ink. What happened? "A car crash. She didn't make it." I don't remember much about the next few hours. Somehow, I made it to my apartment, packed a bag, canceled appointments. My assistant Jennifer promised to handle everything at the gallery. The drive to my grandmother's estate in the Berkshires was a blur of tears and memories. Every mile marker reminded me of another Sunday tea, another quiet conversation, another moment when Grandma Catherine had been the only person who truly saw me. I arrived to find the sprawling Victorian mansion already full of relatives. Cousins I barely knew lounged in the parlor. Aunts whispered in corners. Uncles argued about property values. My parents stood in the foyer, greeting people with practiced sadness. But Madeline was nowhere to be seen. "She's flying in from Dubai," my mother explained, smoothing her already perfect hair. "Some important client meeting she couldn't reschedule." Of course. Even our grandmother's death wouldn't disrupt Madeline's precious career. The next few days passed in a haze of funeral arrangements and family politics. I retreated to my grandmother's library whenever I could, surrounding myself with her beloved books and the faint scent of her rose perfume that still lingered in the air. That's where I was when Madeline finally arrived, 3 days after the accident. "Oh good, you're here," she said, dropping her Hermes bag on an antique table. "Have they read the will yet?" No hello, no tears, not even a pretense of grief. "She's barely cold," I said, my voice tight with anger. Madeline rolled her eyes. "Don't be dramatic, Emma. We all knew this was coming." Grandma was old. She was 68. Details. She waved her hand dismissively. "The point is, there's $40 million at stake. Plus the house, the art collection. We need to be practical." I stared at my twin, trying to find some trace of the sister I'd grown up with. We still had the same face, but looking at her was like seeing my features arranged into a stranger's expression. "The reading is tomorrow," I said finally. "Mr. Harrison, Grandma's lawyer, is handling everything." "Perfect." Madeline smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Get some rest, sis. Tomorrow's going to be interesting." Something in her tone made me uneasy, but I pushed the feeling aside. I was too exhausted, too grief-stricken to analyze my sister's cryptic comments. That was my first mistake. The next morning, I woke early and went to the kitchen to make coffee. The house was quiet, most of the relatives still asleep in their various guest rooms. But as I passed the study, I heard voices. "Everything's arranged." Madeline's voice, low and urgent, just like you asked. A male voice I didn't recognize. "The papers are perfect. No one will question it." I froze, my hand on the doorknob. And the original? Destroyed, along with all the copies. As far as anyone knows, this is the only version. Good. Madeline again, satisfied. "You should go. The reading's in 3 hours." I quickly stepped back as the door opened. A man in a cheap suit hurried past without seeing me, clutching a briefcase. Madeline emerged a moment later, startling when she saw me. "Emma, you're up early." "Couldn't sleep," I said carefully. "Who was that?" "Oh, just someone from the bank." She adjusted her silk blouse. Boring paperwork stuff. But I'd seen the man slip something into her designer bag, something that looked suspiciously like legal documents. The will reading was scheduled for 10 a.m. in the main library. Mr. Harrison, a small man with wire-rimmed glasses who'd been our grandmother's lawyer for 30 years, arranged us all in a semicircle. My parents sat together on the antique sofa. Various aunts and uncles claimed the matching armchairs. Cousins perched on ottomans or leaned against bookshelves. Madeline took a seat directly across from Mr. Harrison, her expression carefully neutral. I chose to stand by the window, next to the painting of roses that Grandma Catherine had always loved. Something felt wrong. The conversation I'd overheard, Madeline's strange behavior. "Before we begin," Mr. Harrison said, adjusting his glasses, "I want to express my personal condolences. Catherine was more than just a client to me. She was a dear friend." Madeline shifted impatiently. Yes, very sad. Shall we proceed?" Mr. Harrison blinked, taken aback by her tone. "Of course." "Well, the terms are quite straightforward. Catherine was very specific about her wishes." He opened his briefcase, but Madeline interrupted. "Actually," she said smoothly, "I have something you should see first." She pulled out a document, the same one I'd seen the mystery man give her earlier. "What's this?" Mr. Harrison frowned, taking the papers. "Grandma's real will," Madeline announced. "Dated just 2 weeks ago. She gave it to me for safekeeping." The room erupted in whispers. I felt my heart start to pound. "This can't be right," Mr. Harrison muttered, scanning the document. "I drew up Catherine's will myself. She never mentioned." "Obviously she changed her mind," Madeline said. "As you can see, everything's perfectly legal. All the signatures are verified." I moved closer, looking over Mr. Harrison's shoulder. The will looked authentic, same legal language, same formatting. But something was wrong. The signature. It looked like Grandma's. But then I saw it. The terms of the new will were simple. The entire estate, all $40 million, plus the house and every asset, was left to Madeline Blackwood. I felt the blood drain from my face. "This is a lie," I said, my voice shaking. "Grandma would never." "Do you have proof?" Madeline challenged, her eyes glinting. "Because I have a legally binding document right here." The room fell silent as everyone stared at us, identical faces locked in a battle of wills. "Mr. Harrison," I turned to the lawyer desperately. You know this isn't right. You knew Grandma better than anyone. I'm sorry, Emma, he said slowly. But if this will is authenticated, my hands are tied. Madeline's smile was triumphant. Well then, I believe that settles everything. As the sole heir, I'll need everyone to vacate the premises by tomorrow morning. You can't do this, I whispered. She stood, gathering her things with practiced elegance. I already have, dear sister, and you can't prove otherwise. As the family filed out in shocked silence, I remained rooted to the spot, staring at the painting of roses. Grandma Catherine had taught me to paint those roses herself, spending countless patient hours helping me get the shadows just right. Now my twin sister had stolen everything, our grandmother's legacy, my inheritance, even my identity. Because that signature on the will, it wasn't Grandma's at all. It was mine. Being identical twins meant sharing DNA, fingerprints, and virtually indistinguishable signatures. My entire life, I'd been careful about signing documents precisely because I knew Madeline could mimic my handwriting perfectly. But I never imagined she would use my signature to forge our grandmother's will. The day after the reading, I watched from my old bedroom window as moving trucks arrived. Madeline wasted no time claiming her prize, directing workers to pack up our grandmother's antiques and artwork. Miss Blackwood? A quiet voice interrupted my thoughts. I turned to find Agnes, our grandmother's housekeeper of 20 years, standing in the doorway. Her eyes were red from crying. I'm sorry, Agnes. I know Madeline's asked everyone to leave. That's just it. Agnes wrung her hands nervously. There's something you need to see. She led me down to the kitchen, checking twice to ensure we weren't followed. From beneath her apron, she pulled out a small leather-bound notebook. Your grandmother's diary, she whispered. She asked me to keep it safe. Said it was important you find it if anything happened to her. My hands trembled as I took the notebook. Why didn't you give this to Mr. Harrison? Because Ms. Madeline was watching him like a hawk. But that's not all. Agnes glanced around again before continuing. The accident. It wasn't random. My blood ran cold. What do you mean? The day before, your grandmother was upset. She discovered something about Ms. Madeline. Something to do with her banking work. She made some calls, said she needed to fix things. I opened the diary with shaking fingers. The last entry was dated the day before the crash. Called Marcus about M's activities at Sterling Bank. The numbers don't add up. Offshore accounts, missing client funds. She's been stealing millions. I can't stay silent. Emma deserves to know the truth about her sister. Tomorrow I'll. The entry ended there. Tomorrow never came. There's more, Agnes said. The morning of the accident, I overheard Ms. Madeline on the phone in the garden. She said something about taking care of it today and making it look accidental. The diary slipped from my fingers. Are you saying? I'm saying be careful, Miss Emma. Your sister, she's not who you think she is. A sharp voice cut through our conversation. Agnes, why aren't these boxes packed yet? Madeline stood in the doorway, her eyes narrowing as she saw us together. Agnes quickly gathered some cleaning supplies and hurried out. Still here, Emma. Madeline's tone was honey-sweet poison. I thought I made it clear the house needs to be emptied. I met her gaze steadily. Did you kill her? The question hung in the air between us. Madeline's smile never wavered. What an awful thing to suggest, she said softly. Grief makes people say such terrible things. She knew about Sterling Bank. I pressed. About the missing money. Something flickered in Madeline's eyes. Surprise? Fear? But it was gone instantly. I don't know what you think you know, she said, but I suggest you leave. Now, before you say something you'll regret. Or what? You'll arrange another accident? She stepped closer, her face, my face, inches from mine. Prove it, she whispered. Prove any of it. You can't, can you? Just like you can't prove the will is forged. It's your word against mine, sister dear. And I have $40 million worth of lawyers on my side. She was right. I had no proof, just a diary entry, a housekeeper's statement, and horrible suspicions. But I had something else, the truth about who I was, who we both were. You forgot one thing, Madeline, I said quietly. Grandma didn't just teach me about art. She taught me about family history, about the Blackwood legacy. Boring stories about dead relatives, she scoffed. What's your point? My point is, I know things you don't. Things about this house, about Grandma's real fortune. Things she only shared during those Sunday teas you were too busy to attend. Uncertainty crept into her expression. You're bluffing? Am I? I smiled, channeling her own cold confidence. Guess you'll find out. I walked out of the kitchen, feeling her eyes boring into my back. At the front door, I paused. Oh, and Madeline? Don't touch the painting of roses in the library. Some art is worth more than money. It was a shot in the dark, but I saw fear flash across her face. She knew something about that painting, something she didn't want me to discover. In my car, I pulled out my phone and made 2 calls. The first was to an old friend from art school who now worked as an authenticator for major auction houses. Sarah, I need you to look into something. A painting of roses, circa 1940s, artist unknown. The second call was to a private investigator recommended by one of my gallery clients. I need everything you can find on Sterling Bank's offshore accounts. Focus on transactions authorized by Madeline Blackwood. Finally, I called Mr. Harrison. Meet me tomorrow, I said when he answered. There's something you need to know about Grandma's real will. Most people think revenge takes a long time, but sometimes justice strikes like lightning, fast, bright, and impossible to escape. It took exactly 3 days to destroy everything Madeline had stolen. I met Mr. Harrison at a small cafe far from the estate. His hands shook slightly as he read Grandma's diary. My God, he whispered. I knew something was wrong. But this, I need your help, I said. The painting in the library. Did Grandma ever mention anything special about it? He looked up sharply. She did, actually. About a month ago, she had me update her will. Said something about important papers being where the roses never fade. My heart raced. The painting. I'd always wondered why Grandma insisted it never be moved, never be cleaned by anyone but her. Mr. Harrison, I need you to stall the estate transfer, just for 24 hours. He nodded grimly. I'll file some paperwork, technical errors that need reviewing. But Emma, be careful. If what this diary suggests is true, I know, I said quietly. My sister is capable of murder. Back at my hotel, messages waited from both my contacts. Sarah, the art authenticator, confirmed my suspicions about the painting. The private investigator's findings about Sterling Bank were even more explosive. I took a deep breath and made one final call to the FBI's Financial Crimes Division. That night, I waited until 3 a.m. before returning to the estate. The security code hadn't been changed. Madeline always did underestimate me. The house was dark, empty except for the furniture Madeline hadn't yet moved. In the library, Moonlight filtered through the tall windows, illuminating the painting of roses. With trembling fingers, I felt along its heavy gilt frame. There, a slight catch, a hidden spring. The painting swung away from the wall like a door, revealing a small safe built into the wall behind it. I smiled, remembering all those Sunday afternoons when Grandma taught me to paint roses. She hadn't just been teaching art. She'd been showing me exactly where this safe was located. The combination was simple: my birthday, not Madeline's. She'd been born 2 minutes later. This was how Grandma had always told us apart, by remembering who came first. Inside the safe lay a stack of documents: bank records, surveillance photos, and a USB drive. But most importantly, there was another will. The real will, dated just 3 days before Grandma's death, with a letter attached. My dearest Emma, if you're reading this, something has happened to me. I've discovered what Madeline has been doing at Sterling Bank. The stolen money, the fake accounts, all of it. I've gathered proof, but she knows I know. I fear what she might do. I'm leaving everything to you because you're the only one who understands what truly matters. The money, the house, they're just things. But integrity, truth, justice, these are the real Blackwood legacy. All my love, Grandma Catherine. P.S. Give the USB drive to the FBI. They'll know what to do. At that moment, lights flooded the library. Madeline stood in the doorway, her face twisted with rage. "How did you know?" she demanded. "Because I paid attention," I said calmly, despite my pounding heart. "All those Sunday teas you missed. All those boring family stories you ignored. Grandma wasn't just sharing memories. She was leaving clues." "Give me those papers," she snarled, stepping forward. "It's too late," I replied. "The FBI already has copies of everything. They're probably at Sterling Bank right now, seizing records of all your offshore accounts." Her face went pale. "You're lying." "Am I? Check your phone." As if on cue, her phone buzzed. Her hands shook as she read the message. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no." "Yes," I said quietly. "It's over, Madeline. The fraud, the fake will, and—" I held up Grandma's diary, the truth about her death. She lunged for me, but never reached me. FBI agents emerged from the shadows, where they'd been waiting all along. I watched as they led my sister away in handcuffs, her perfect composure finally shattered. The aftermath was a whirlwind of headlines. Bain K-I-H-E-R-A-R-E-S-T-D F-O-R-F-R-A-U-D and M-U-R-D-E-R. T-W-I-N sisters, inheritance battle, R-E-V-A-L, D-E-D-Y-S-K-G, Sterling Bank K-S-K-A-D-A-L, Bly L-Al-H-O-N-S, and C-L-I-E-N-T Philandes Messing. The truth came out quickly after that. Madeline had been stealing from clients for years, hiding the money in offshore accounts. When Grandma discovered her scheme, Madeline arranged the accident, not realizing Grandma had already documented everything. The forged will was just her final attempt to gain control of all evidence against her. She never imagined the real proof would be hidden behind a simple painting of roses. 1 year later, I stood in the library again, now restored to its former glory. Madeline was serving 20 years for fraud and murder. The stolen money had been returned to Sterling Bank's clients, and Grandma's real will had been executed exactly as she intended. I kept the house, turning part of it into an art gallery showcasing young artists. The painting of roses still hung in its place of honor, no longer hiding secrets, but serving as a reminder. Sometimes justice blooms in unexpected places. Agnes still worked as housekeeper, now more family than employee. Mr. Harrison helped manage the charitable foundation I'd established with half of my inheritance, supporting arts education for underprivileged children. Your grandmother would be proud, he told me one afternoon, watching local kids take art lessons in what used to be the formal dining room. I smiled, touching the locket I now wore, the one Grandma had always worn during our Sunday teas. Inside was a tiny painted rose, a reminder that beauty and truth go hand in hand. She knew, I said softly. She knew that someday the truth would come out. That's why she left all those clues, all those little breadcrumbs for me to follow. And Madeline, he asked, do you ever visit her? I shook my head. Some twins grow apart. Some were never truly connected to begin with. She chose her path, just as I chose mine. Later that evening, I sat in Grandma's library, my library now, and opened her diary to the last page. Below her final entry, I had added my own. Dear Grandma, justice has been served. The roses still bloom, the truth still shines, and your legacy lives on.